Matt from the Gaming Mattress, and apologies for my voice, it's a bit cracked, I'm a bit sick today, but anyways, in this list we'll cover the exact moment when franchises got their magic back. The turning point where everything shifted, one key change that made fans pay attention, and why players came back. These aren't flawless histories, but they're real examples of once disliked or stagnant series rebounding in huge ways. We all love a good redemption story, and trust me, gaming has more of them than you think. What's better than watching a struggling hero stage a comeback? Well, watching a franchise do it in real life after years of being written off. If you like comeback stories, click like, we'll see how these studios pulled it off. So let's get into it. Number 10 shows how one brutal action series went from being called outdated to redefining itself in a way no one saw coming. Number 10 is the God of War series, which went from flash to feeling with its 2018 reboot. Back in the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 days, the franchise was all about spectacle. Huge combos, screen-filling finishers, and a main character who did little more than rage at everything in sight. By the third game, that formula felt like noise without substance. Fans wanted more than just another round of button mashing mayhem. The turning point was the PlayStation 4's 2018 God of War. The camera pulled in tight to an over-the-shoulder view, fights had real impact, and Kratos' new Leviathan axe added weight to every swing. RPG-style upgrades slowed the pace and gave combat choices meanings, and for the first time, Kratos wasn't just raging, he was raising Atreus, a son who reshaped the story around family and consequences. They traded spectacle for weight and players responded. Moving on, another legendary series tried something similar. Only this time, instead of family drama, it was about fear. Number 9 is Resident Evil franchise, which went through a real identity crisis before finding itself again. By Resident Evil 6 in 2012, the series had gone heavy on action. Big explosions, car chases, way too much ammo. And fans felt like the slow, tense survival horror vibe was gone. It wasn't scary anymore, just bloated action set pieces. Capcom knew it had to fix that. In 2017, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard made the deliberate pivot back to survival horror. Built with the new RE engine, it shifted to a first-person view, stripped down the arsenal, and locked players into a decaying Louisiana house. Less firepower, more choices, every ammo count mattered again. Exploration and atmosphere carried the fear, not non-stop gunfights. And that gamble paid off. Resident Evil 7 reminded people what the franchise did best, and its success set up Resident Evil Village and the acclaimed Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. That being said, not every revival came from slowing down. Some came from hitting the gas harder than ever. Number 8 is the Doom series, a franchise that had to fight its way back from losing touch with what made it legendary. Doom 3 shifted the tone towards slower, horror-heavy gameplay. It had atmosphere, but fans missed that speed, chaos, and relentless gunplay that defined the originals. Without that constant movement, the series felt like it had drifted away from its roots. That changed with Doom 2016. No cover mechanics, no waiting, just a non-stop push forward. The game encouraged aggression with its glory kill system, rewarding brutal finishers by dropping health and ammo to keep you in the fight. Combat felt like rhythm in motion, shoot, move, rip, repeat, with pounding music driving it all. This return proved raw, old-school momentum could still stand tall against modern, realism-focused shooters. But while Doom thrived by speeding up, not every series found its comebacks in pure chaos. Some rebuilt their identity after stumbling into experiments that didn't click. Number 7 is Mortal Kombat, a series that nearly lost its punch before finding the perfect way back. During its 3D experiments in the late 90s and 2000s, the fights strayed from the tight arcade feel fans loved. Movement was clunky, combat felt off, and the precision that once made duels electric was buried under awkward mechanics. The gore was still there, but without sharp control, the competitive edge slipped away. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Just kidding. Everything changed with a reboot that returned to a focused 2D plane. At first, some worried it looked like a step backward. Instead, it restored the crisp hit timing and balance that serious players and tournaments demand. Fatalities hit harder, the story leaned into fan service, and the competitive scene embraced it again. That pivot brought Mortal Kombat back into the spotlight and set up one of gaming's most dramatic redemption arcs still to come. Number 6 is Final Fantasy XIV, one of the rare times a studio rebuilt a failure into a triumph. When it launched in 2010, the game was slammed for clunky menus, sluggish performance, and a whole system that felt unfinished. Players abandoned it almost immediately, and for most MMOs, that would have been the end. Instead, Square Enix replaced the leadership team, bringing in Naoki Yoshida to oversee a full rebuild. Under his direction, the studio focused on community feedback and admitted the original engine was too broken to fix. That's why they tore everything down and relaunched in 2013 as Final Fantasy XVI: A Realm Reborn. This wasn't just a patch, it was a ground-up reboot with a new story, refined combat, and healthier foundation for future expansions. They treated the game like a new product and rebuilt player trust. Mission accomplished. Number 5 is Sonic the Hedgehog, a franchise that went through high, lows, and finally found its stride again. In the 90s, Sonic was right there with Mario as a true rival. But when the series leaned harder into 3D in the 2000s, several titles struggled with slippery controls, clumsy cameras, and gimmicky storylines. The core speed was buried and many players started to doubt whether Sonic could keep up with modern platforms. The big turnaround came with Sonic Mania in 2017, a fan-led project that returned the 2D levels branching out and that pure fast-flowing gameplay everyone remembered. It nailed the feel of the Genesis classics while polishing it for modern play. A few years later, Sonic Frontiers showed that the series could also evolve, mixing open zones and quick traversal while still holding on to what makes Sonic unique: speed. Sonic found his rhythm again, but up next is a fighting franchise that reasserted dominance with a big new entry. Number 4 is the Street Fighter series, proof that even a classic can stumble and then rally back stronger. Street Fighter V left a lot of players cold with its bare-bones launch and lack of content, which chipped away at trust in the franchise. The competitive crowd kept it alive, but casual players didn't stick around. Then Street Fighter VI dropped and turned the tide. It came with a bold new art style, full-featured modes like World Tour and Battle Hub, and training tools that made onboarding smooth. For once, newcomers and veterans were speaking the same language. The game sold over 4 million copies worldwide, earned glowing reviews, and its reception at EVO shows the community was back in force. It rebuilt its reputation by offering depth for pros and clear access for beginners, something another big franchise was desperate to prove true again. Number 3 is the Diablo series, and I know there are many that didn't like it, but that's a name that carried both legendary highs and some rough stretches. After certain entries drifted away from the series' darker route, longtime fans worried that the gothic identity might be gone for good. The brighter tone and mechanical missteps left players asking whether Diablo could still deliver that oppressive horror-soaked experience the franchise was built on. Diablo 4 answered by pulling the series back into bleak, gothic landscapes with dungeons that feel suffocating and a story full of corruption and despair. Its art direction embraced shadows and grit, and seasonal updates like the current season of Witchcraft reinforced that focus on atmosphere. Blizzard has even confirmed a second expansion planned for 2026, backing up their long-term vision. It proved the series could return to its darker soul while still evolving as a live service. And that return to form matters because another massive franchise had to wrestle with its own fatigue not long after. Number 2 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. The reboot that reminded people why the series mattered. After years of futuristic gadgets, jetpacks and wall running, many players felt burned out. The annual release blurred together and excitement dropped off. That's why the shift back to grounded combat in 2019 hit so hard. It immediately stood out as a reset that fans had been waiting for. Modern Warfare 2019 stripped things down to pacing and weapons that actually felt weighty. The campaign brought back gritty, morally grey storytelling that sparked discussions again, and community reaction including widespread praise for the realistic boots-on-the-ground feel of multiplayer. The fresh mechanics balanced nostalgia with updates that kept things modern, landing with both veterans and newcomers. That reset wasn't just nostalgia, it showed how the right return to form can revive trust, and our number 1 pick proved that point even more dramatically. Number 1 is the Metroid series, which finally broke through years of silence with Metroid 2021. After Metroid Other M in 2010 left mixed reactions, fans weren't sure if a modern 2D Metroid would ever return. The drought dragged on, and while Nintendo's icons like Mario and Zelda kept thriving, Samus seemed stuck in limbo, respected for the past but absent from the present. Metroid Dread changed that instantly. It delivered precise, fast control that felt sharp on modern hardware while leaning into a classic loop of exploration and upgrades. The new EMMI enemies added suspense by forcing stealth and smart movement, raising the tension in a way that kept even returning veterans uneasy. In a market crowded with indie Metroidvanias, Dread proved Samus still defined the genre. It showed that fast, tight movement plus discovery is still the heart of Metroid, and why comebacks matter. So what do all these comebacks have in common? Each one had a turning point, whether it was leadership stepping in to rebuild like Naoki Yoshida with Final Fantasy XVII, a design reset like Resident Evil 7 first-person shift, or a pure gameplay overhaul like Doom's momentum-based combat. The developers who listened reworked the fundamentals and doubled down on what made the series special were the ones who pulled it off. If this video appeals to you, give it a like and subscribe for more deep dives into game history. Which of these comebacks surprised you the most? Vote in the comment and let us know one franchise you think still deserves its big turnaround. In games as in life, the best sequels are the ones that learn from their mistakes. So press a like, subscribe, and don't forget, enjoy your games.